In this video, I'm going to give you one of the most powerful secrets, or I would say the most powerful strategies that I've used in my life, which is a game changer. I'm pretty sure you, in some way, shape, or form, you also do it, but it all depends on how effectively you do it, how many times you do it. And what matters is not about bragging, how many times you do it, but do you get the end result? I'm going to give you specific examples where I've done it and what magic results it helped me accomplish. And the only reason I'm sharing this with you is because if you look at my face today, especially my eyes, I'm a little tired because I actually did it today, and I can tell you that it has caused magic in my life, including as a bonus towards the end. I'll tell you where there was going to be a revenge attack, or there was going to be a massive, big problem, and I managed to avert it by using this principle. So let me tell you what it is. And yes, feel free to comment down below. Let's start off with how did I learn this secret? I didn't learn it from any book. I didn't learn it by watching anyone. In fact, I learned it by watching a movie. Out of all the things on this planet, the movie, I finally managed to get the exact scene. Type on Google, go to YouTube and type Goodfellas. That is the movie, 1990, directed by Martin Scorsese. And the title of that scene is the Copacabana Steady Cam Shot. It's like the camera is following Ray Liotta, who plays one of the gangsters who's there. And the beauty of this scene is, Ray Liotta is trying to get into the club, and his girlfriend is saying, "Oh, this club is full, you can never get in." He's saying, don't need to worry. And he takes her from the back alley, the back end, and every single person who says hello to him, from the security guy who opens the door to the waiter, to the head waiter, to the security, everyone, he keeps giving $100 bill. He's like, "Hey, Mr. So-and-so, how are you? Hey." And, he puts that note in his hand, shakes hand, and, they know that they're getting a tip. "Oh, thank you, sir." Second guy, "Hey, you're great. Thank you." So every single person who says hi to him, he gives, $100 bill or $50 bill, whatever. And, the respect that he gives, because he's giving people this kind of money, he gets treated like a VIP. And then he gets, the table to sit down is right in front of the, singers. It's like a VVIP table. There was no space, but they make space for him, and they give that table to him, and they give it to his girlfriend who is trying to impress in that movie. The beauty of this scene, well, many people say that it's impeccable, it's unbelievable. Why? Because it's a steady cam. The cinematographer is Michael Bollis. You really need to see it. It is incredible. And the reason why I got so impressed with this scene was, imagine you're going to a VVIP club. There is no tables, there is no place. But because this guy tips every single person, they make way, they put a special table just for him, just to keep him happy. And, as a young man, when I saw this, I was like, wow, if you have the money, if you have the power, you can do anything. And everyone around the table, everyone says, "Hi, how are you?" Gives him the respect. And this female is like, "Man, you must be someone really important." Now, obviously, I know what you'll be saying is, okay, let's assume that's real life, but you need to be rich, you need to be loaded, you need to have the money. In this movie, he plays a gangster. Now, I will give you real life examples where I've done the same, coming from poverty, coming from a place where I was not rich, and how did I do it? Let's start with when I was not rich. Okay, let's start with when I was not rich. I used to go to this gym. And those days I was not very rich. And obviously, when people are going to the gym, there are bodybuilders, there are big people. And, I was young, cocky and all that. And I also wanted to build a big body, but I didn't know the exercise. I didn't know, really that there were steroids. I didn't know there were supplements. I just used to go, yeah, I'm doing the gym. And, obviously, when you're a new guy, other guys don't like you. And, they'll gang up against you. So I was like, how do I get people to, give me some tips, advice? And those were the days where the only information you could get it was from books. Remember, there was no such thing as Google or the internet or whatever. So I started looking around. I identified, okay, there are these big groups or big gangs, and there is an alpha guy. And trust me, when there are big bodybuilders who form groups, they gang up together. So if you want to train in a particular area and they are standing there, you can't train there until they finish. I was like, how do I get included in this? I'm just an ordinary guy, I don't have much money, and these guys are juiced up and big and all that. So I was like, okay, I need to first identify who's the key contact here, who's the big guy. So there were a couple of guys, and remember, it's not that they're multimillionaires, but they're richer than me. I was like, how can I impress this guy? If I buy something, I don't have the money. So what I decided to do is, seriously, in this gym, tea, out of all the tea, kadak chai, which in Dubai it's called kadak chai. It wouldn't cost much. It was just hardly 50 fills, like 1 dirham, divided by two. Okay, so it's cheap and affordable. Whenever I used to be there, okay, imagine all the guys are training. I would order a cup of tea for me, and I would always ask the guys, "Do you want?" They would say, "No, no, no, thanks," and they would wonder like, "Who's this guy?" and all that. So I would always have the cup of tea, and they would see me having the cup of tea. Okay, and so they saw me, but we're not interacting. And then obviously, when they would finish their gym and everything, they would sit outside and they would actually smoke, the whole group. So what I decided is, okay, this group doesn't like me, doesn't talk to me, but how do I make them like me? So one day when they were sitting outside and smoking, I was like, okay, now it's my chance. So what I did is, the cafeteria is nearby. It's just hardly two shops away. So I told this guy, I want tea, and I counted how many people were there, and I told him, please bring tea with milk and whatever, for not just me, but for everyone. I paid them money, and they said, we will deliver. So I went there, and as I was waiting there, then suddenly the guy came with tea. I took the tea, and these guys are smoking and they're talking. And the guy went and told them the tea, and they wondered who bought this tea, And then it's not expensive. Remember, it is cheap. And he gave them a hot cup of tea for everyone after the gym, towards evening. And obviously, when I gave him tea, they're like wondering. I said, please, like with respect, with total humility, please, this just for all of you. So it was not expensive. They're like, okay, thanks. And remember that gang leader was there. He was also like, and I said, I went and I kind of said, this is for you. And like, okay, thanks. And then he took it. So I didn't rub it in that I'm giving you free tea. And I said, okay, thanks, guys. And then I went to the side because that is my place. They didn't invite me in their group. I sat down there, humble. It's not like I gave them all a cup of tea and I walked in. Proud. I was just standing there. And when they saw me standing there, one of them, hey, come here, idhara. They called me. And then they told me, sit. They told me sit like next. We're all sitting on the pavement. Okay. Remember, this is not a rich neighborhood. So I give them the respect that you guys are sitting here. I'm not fit to sit here. But I give them the respect of giving them something small that I could afford. But I stood far to show I respect you enough that I'll stand here. And I let them have the final say whether I should sit or not. And after they let me sit, I was humble. I was not putting on an act. And that was my first time that they let me sit and talk. Remember, they don't entertain other people. So after going, they said, hey, thanks. And, as they were leaving, this was one of my habits that when they leave, they put the tea, this thing there. I collected the tea, and one of them, looking that I was taking all the teas to throw the empty glasses, he called, hey. He called the guys back, hey, do it properly. He is not like the servant, like he was telling me he's not the servant. So then they came because, they listened to each other and they came and they put it nicely. They had kind of a respect that, oh, this guy keeps it clean. And then I said, bye, so they kind of noticed me. Okay, this guy's kind of cool. He doesn't show off and all that. And obviously, you need to be careful that you don't overdo it. So the next time when I came, I said hi, everything. And towards the end, I took permission this time. I took permission, like when I went to get tea, I said, hey guys, I'm getting tea. Anybody wants tea? No. They all said, no. I said, please, just I'm having tea. I would like to, have some company and all that. So then they said, hey, you guys want tea and all that? This time they said, okay, but you don't buy for us. We will pay. So I said, sure. When they suggest something, you don't tell them and give them the upper hand. Try to show that you have the upper hand. So when they bought tea this time, they paid the money for this, and they even paid for me. But this time what I did is I bought snacks, crunchies and all that. And to show unity, I didn't bring each one separate. I bought in a big kind of like, paper, this thing. We were eating. So obviously they are smart. They're not dumb. They know that, oh, he's trying to be nice to us, and he's genuine. He's just a nice guy. He's bringing simple stuff. So the big guy kept quiet and he let all of us, let me sit with, stand at the side. Then he told sit. And eventually, as they saw my face every day, not that I would buy them tea and stuff every day, but I would interact with them. I would be very polite. And very soon, like, they started calling me, hey, you come here. What are you doing? And do it proper. Like, they started guiding me automatically. And soon when I started to get their trust, obviously, then they, I would ask them questions. I would say, how can I build a body like yours? Like, I didn't flatter him, like, you're so big and all that. I would show that I'm a learner. I'm a student. I admire you. You have an amazing body. Can you teach me? So that is how they allowed me into their group, their gang. And slowly they told me about supplements. They told me about other things. And because I noticed that many of them didn't, buy magazines, I would save up money. Remember, I was not rich. Flex, Muscle Fitness, those were the magazines, which are kind of premium, but you'd only get it from a store. I literally purchased with my money, saved money, and bought it. And I would bring the magazine there and say, "Hey guys, I just got the magazine," and they were like, "Oh wow, you bought the latest magazine," and they would take it and obviously it's brand new and all that. It looks nice. So when they would take it, the leader would be like, "Hey, this is he paid money. Just make sure that you take care." So they would look at it slowly, and I would gather along with them. So I earned their trust that manner. So what am I telling you is you don't have to be super rich to make people like you by doing simple acts of, kindness, of appreciation. Now, this is how I managed to get into groups that were big and people who are earning more than me. And very soon I became part of their kind of group in the gym. Now, I'll give you the second level where a guy was more richer than me, but I wanted him to kind of like win his friendship over in a very genuine manner.